Good evening, everyone. Good evening, America. My name is Dana. I am known as the Angry Citizen. I'm coming to you live from Brewer, Maine, and we are going to talk about some very important things, including our Constitution and our constitutional republic and recent events here in America, my beloved nation. I am a father, grandfather, living, breathing son of God, and I am a loyal patriot, and I believe in the Constitution, and I believe strongly in our constitutional republic. And I believe that our constitutional republic is under attack, not a direct attack like a military attack, more like a very subtle attempt to simply take over by the wealthy elites of the world. And I object to that, and I defy it and decry it, and I will continue to do so. And in my efforts to fight back against the corruption, the fraud, the waste in our government, the lies and treachery of various industries, mostly and especially recently the medical industry in the wake of the whole so-called pandemic. I've met quite a few people who are similarly inclined and people that were brave enough to speak truth in the face of opposition. This is actually somewhat dangerous. Um, Recently, just moments ago, talking with my guest I'm going to bring on about Tina Peters. If you don't know who Tina Peters is, she is was a worker, a campaign worker in the vote tabulating center that was seeing things that were very irregular and brought that to the attention of the powers that be. And rather than being uh, praised and rewarded as she should have been, she was imprisoned on some trumped up BS crap and has spent quite a bit of time in jail. So we are under threat. Our liberties are under threat. Our constitutional republic is under heavy attack. And if we, the people, do not come to her defense, she will fall. That's the naked truth. So I'm very pleased to have this particular guest with me. She's been a freedom fighter for quite a while, and we did a live stream together a while back and talked about the constitutional republic. And she had some interesting things to say about that. And I'm very pleased to have her back and honored that she is my guest. Her name is Sandy Miarecki. And Sandy, welcome.
Hi, it's good to be back. Thank you, Dana.
My pleasure. Really, really honored to have you here. You have done so much work and spoken out so loudly and admirably in defense of our constitutional republic. I have huge respect for you for that. And you can see if you the viewers would like to, you can see our live the event that we did or the video that we did. I don't remember if it was live or not or recorded, but either way, it's on my BitChute channel and my YouTube channel, and it talks about our republic. So,
Mhm.
and I reached out to you recently. We connected. It's been a while. You said it's been what, a year since we did that.
Yeah, August of 24.
Okay. And we I called you just kind of on a whim the other night. We had a great conversation, and I was really pleased that we reconnected because we are talking about some of the most important subjects that uh, we could possibly talk about right now. The
Mhm,
constitutional republic is the absolute premier
mhm,
topic for we the people because we the people are woefully ignorant of our laws, of the foundations of our nation, of our Constitution especially.
mhm,
The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. All laws that are repugnant to it are null and void. This has been established, and yet we see it ignored. We see it routinely defiled by the very people that swear an oath to uphold and defend it, that the elected servants that work for us, work for we the people. We elect them, we send them to do a specific job that we the people authorize them to do. So, um, but the topic of our conversation and something that was really, I think, weighing on me personally, we were talking just a moment ago about the fact that I kind of bowed out a little bit for a while because I was just really frustrated and
mhm,
discouraged and tired. And there's a lot of people out there that believe things that are not true.
mhm,
And we have attempted to engage these people in discussions regarding volatile issues like
mhm,
the pandemic and the vaccine. And we see a huge level of defiance, anger, even belligerence, combative responses, insulting responses, a
Mhm.
shutdown of our words on social media, on YouTube, and we try to have discussions with these people, but they're very hostile. So you had a great response to that, and I would like you to share that with America because I think everyone needs to hear this.
Absolutely. So, we've got quite the divide here in this country, and it's intentional, of course. It's by the globalists, cabal, whatever you want to call them. But they actually did conquer our republic. And we don't have a republic right now. I think we would all agree that our justice system is not operating constitutionally. Our so-called public servants are definitely not doing that. They think there's some sort of nobility. The list goes on. But so we've got kind of the folks that know what's going on and the folks that have no clue by design, because they need us divided so that we can't work together so we can save the country. So how do you wake them up? Because I call it awakening the woke, right? And you can't, well, I mean, so there's the few people who truly just don't know anything. They don't pay attention. They're just, I'm too busy. I don't want to know that stuff. And you can gently bring them around with facts, but it's very, very rare. Most of the people who are adamant that you're a crazy psychopath because of, you believe that all the things that we know are true. And how do you turn their ship around to get them to go in the same direction as the rest of us and not going off the cliff? Well, what I've found a lot of success with is, as long as you're on a good relationship with them, ask them for their help.
Okay.
So pick a video that's not particularly strong in their minds. Okay, so you don't want to just smack them on the side of the head with a bunch of facts. You want to pick something that's like
I
truth
do,
light.
but that doesn't work well.
No,
That's
you
what I
can't. You have
do.
to put
I
that
know,
put
and it
that
makes
away.
me mad. I get so mad,
Yes.
and I just like, look, this is the truth, and they're like, what are you? You're one of
Yeah,
those left wing, right wing, upper lower
that's
middle
right.
class Republican Democans.
Yeah.
Anyway, but
So you
yeah,
go
but
with something, a video, an article, keep it short, 5-10 minutes if you can, and have it just be something light, maybe one topic. And you send it to them and you say, I really need your help. I was watching this video, reading this article, whatever it was, and I'm trying to find fault with it and I can't. Could you help me do that? I know that you can help me because I know you know a lot of stuff. And I'm looking for evidence, like, actually solid evidence that says
yes,
that what this is not truth. Would you
ammunition,
help?
so I can come back at these people that are saying this is the true, and we both know it's not.
Right.
So we need to be able to point out to them how it's not and prove that what we're saying is true. Just
But
us versus them.
not in their faces. So ask for their help because you're going to play to their ego. You're going to play to that they are an expert, and you're going to them, the expert, to help them, to help you to find the errors in this thing. And say, I'd really appreciate it if you could send me some evidence, that this is not true. And then they may not listen to the whole thing or watch the whole
Right.
thing or read the whole thing, but those few minutes that they maybe did watch it, that little tiny crack in the dam. And maybe they shut down, maybe they go, that's just conspiracy theory. It's like, oh, well, I was kind of hoping, well, I'll ask someone else. They don't
Right.
like
So
that either.
if they dismiss you,
Mhm.
then you've really lost nothing. At least you tried, and at least you gave it the best attempt you could.
Mhm.
and I am not good at delivering things gently. I try, really try. I rein myself in really hard, and I just
Mhm.
take deep breaths and I calm down and I come at him with the whole, hey Ted, I understand that, you want to trust those doctors because they're all good guys and so forth, but wouldn't it kind of be good to ask yourself that, why they're not giving you informed consent?
Right.
Because isn't that
Why
important? Aren't
aren't
they
they doing
supposed
their
to do that?
research? Why aren't they doing their research?
Yeah.
Ask them a
So
question about anything. And especially if you find a really interesting article or whatever on PubMed or the NIH website. I mean, just their own actual sources that they would trust, right? The government, because they trust the government. And say, what's up with this? I'm trying to comprehend this. I'm sure you know more about it than I do. Would you help me understand?
that's hard for me to say, Sandy. But I'll try. For those of you out there that have the wisdom to embrace this, more power to you. I have a difficult time with it. I really do because I've been beyond frustrated with people because they can't seem to confront things that are right in front of them, just right there in front of them.
Well,
I've
remember,
had to.
sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say I had a friend who he used to frequently post
Mhm.
um, things that mocked anyone that dared to question that vaccines were safe and effective.
Right,
Just really harshly rebuking and mocking. And this is something I think of as being demonic when people go, "Oh, you believe that? Ha ha ha! What a moron!" And then
right,
they on like Facebook, they'll talk to each other
right.
like, Bob, did you hear what he said? What an idiot. Yeah, Fred, I know. He's one of those crazy, anti blah 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 people and conspiracy theories, but no facts, no
Right.
refutation, no
Mhm.
actual you made this claim,
Right,
Dana or Sandy.
right,
You said this and this is false, right? And here's why it's
right.
false. Prove it. They don't. They use
No.
vague terms like misinformation. So YouTube says, you are posting misinformation. We're going to remove your video, and your account has a strike against it. And if you get too many strikes, we're going to just shut you right down.
Right.
And they use terms like dangerous and
Mhm.
uh, medical misinformation that might cause harm, and you get
Right.
shut down. But no
Mhm.
facts,
No.
no
That's where you
facts.
keep track and you let them know, I'm just going to take notes here for the military tribunals when we take the government back. Thank you for this evidence.
Yeah, that's the thing is a lot of the things that we our concerns or our complaints as we the people
Mhm.
are solvable if enough of us insist that it be done. We have to get a large group of people together to do it, and
Yeah.
the crimes are all a matter of record. And when I
Oh,
look at the things that have been done, the crimes that have been committed by our government and our elected servants, uh, boldly claiming that they have the authority to do these things, and they're on record, they don't deny that they've done them. They just go, "Yeah, we did it. So what?" And we have the ability to hold them accountable. We have the ability to have them charged
that's
under
right.
the law and prosecuted and punished according to our law. And I
Mhm.
guarantee you that 99 out of 100 Americans want that.
Mhm. Yeah. And that might be a
So
good segue into what we're trying to do to save the
please,
country.
please,
So, last time I was on, we talked about restoring or re inhabiting, which is the word we've picked, the Republic for the United States of America. Because we all know our founding fathers gave us a republic when they gave us the Constitution. Remember, there was that first attempt with the Articles of Confederation. It didn't really work out because there wasn't enough federal government. They had swayed the spectrum, swayed this pendulum too far. And we ended up with too much strife between the states because there wasn't a single currency and a whole bunch of other things. So they went back to the drawing board, gave us a constitution, gave us the republic, and we lost it. We really did lose it. And it
Let's
was
be specific about that too, because I think a lot of the viewers are unfamiliar with what
right.
specifically what you mean and how that happened.
So it started during the Civil War. And that was, of course, another bankers' war because the American people are not wanting to hurt each other or kill each other. But if the
Murder each other?
bankers are
No.
whispering in the North here and whispering in the South, and they can say, well, you guys need to fight, and they do. That's how we started the Civil War. We were getting along pretty well up until that point. So anyways, Lincoln had to do something pretty drastic. And historians would probably even say that we lost the Republic in order to keep the Union. That's what Lincoln had to do. Suspended the Constitution and habeas corpus, essentially, and created like a military state. He called it executive government. You can find that in his executive orders because he started giving a whole bunch of them. So now we've got the Civil War. We end the Civil War. Lincoln pretty much intended to put it back to a republic after the crisis was over. He was killed, I think, within a week after the end of the war. So he never had the chance. And his vice president was a 30-something degree Mason, which is the whole reason why we're here, is because of the secret societies, the Freemasons, the Jesuits, everyone associated with them, the bar attorneys, which is kind of like a secret society. I don't even think they even know what bar means, British Accreditation Registry. Because why would an American citizen hold the title Esquire? That's a British title of nobility.
I've heard that. I've also heard that Your Honor is a British title, an extension of British courts.
That's right. So then 1870 comes around, and the banksters, I call them banking gangsters, banksters, go to the Congress and said, your debt is due. And they're like, we're still in Reconstruction. And not only did we have our own, the North's debt, but we also inherited the South's debt when we conquered them. And so,
because the bankers funded the war, the bankers loaned money to the government, so-called governments of the North and the South.
Both sides. Yep.
Okay.
So they say, well, let's make a deal. And that was the Organic Act of 1871, which was never lawfully passed. But it was a so-called act of Congress that incorporated Washington, D.C., 10 square miles. Well, that just happens to be where all of the government buildings are.
Right.
And that just happens to be our government.
Yep.
And so they incorporated the government. And so you get arguments, oh, they didn't really mean incorporation. It's like, yes, they did. And not only that, but at that time,
what it says, like articles of incorporation are pretty specific, and they do in fact say corporation literally being the purpose of the articles of incorporation.
That's right. And this was the deal that was struck by the Vatican, which is a city-state, just like in Italy. The Vatican's not part of Italy. It's got its own little borders. And the city center of London, which I think is just called London City or City of London, I think. And that's the financial center all around the middle of, right in the middle of London. And that's its own city-state. And so by incorporating Washington, D.C., they created a third city-state known as District of Columbia.
District of Columbia, D.C.
And here we are. Yep. So states, which were republics, can't do business with a corporation. And so slowly they were tricked into switching over to corporations. And you can go to a website called Dun & Bradstreet, dnb.com. And you can look up every single one of these corporations. State of Florida Corporation, State of Maine Corporation, State of Texas Corporation. Every single of the 50 states all have them.
And the courts.
And the courts. And the Supreme Court Corporation. And the NASA Corporation. And the Pentagon Corporation. And the White House Corporation. And so the name has changed over time, but it's basically because it keeps going bankrupt. Because what's happening is these banking gangsters created the Federal Reserve in 1913 and the IRS same year. What a coincidence. And all the money that we pay in taxes, almost all, doesn't go to our country. It goes to foreign powers. It goes to the banksters. It's into their pockets. And so if you've got someone embezzling from a group or a country or whatever, it's going to go bankrupt because it can't pay its own bills.
Right.
So that's essentially where we're at. And so when you hear this 6 trillion, 37 trillion, whatever we are in debt now.
Yeah.
That's not us. That's the foreign owned Federal Reserve's debt. That is not America's debt. Don't let anyone trick you into thinking that you and me have to pay that back. That's not us. And that corporation's been bankrupt for quite a while, but yet it still keeps limping along, changing its name, restructuring, and all the corporate terms that it says. The gold fringe flags that you see, that's the corporation. So that's how you know. And when the states then became corporations, then the counties became corporations, then the towns became corporations. How many people have seen when they're driving, it says like, Maine Town Incorporated 1920, yes. And they're so proud of it. Oh, we are incorporated. Or the non-incorporated part of something county, right? If you live there and then you've got different rules because you're in the unincorporated part of it's like, it's all over and around us. And we're just lied to about what it is. We lost the republic. We haven't had it since at least 1871. But
we can take it back.
So we already did. So a lot of people say, save the republic. And we go, we already did. And that's because, and here comes the story. I believe I already told this in August, but it's been a while, so why not review, right?
Needs to be said, yes, please.
That's right. So back around the JFK timeframe, so 1960s, a bunch of generals, probably other high-ranking military, retired or active duty, were commenting and lamenting about how corrupt their country was. And of course, when JFK was assassinated by his own agencies, we know that was FBI, CIA, mafia working together in this like interesting group. And that's what all the paperwork is going to say eventually when it's all released. So the generals are watching this happen and they're going, we got to do something. We are going down the tubes. So they created something, I think it was called the Army of Virginia, like their code word. And they were just recruiting people and they're going, we don't know what we're going to do, but we know we have to do something. So let's make this group and let's try to work it out. So then decades are going by, they're growing. And around the mid 1980s, that's guess. Okay, this is now Sandy's guess about the time frame because of a story I heard about something that happened in 1987. Trump was recruited by the White Hats. That's what these guys are called today, guys. The Army of Virginia started during JFK's time frame, and they are now called the White Hats. So they approached Trump and said, someday we're going to need you to be president. Can you agree to that? And he said, of course, I'm going to save my country. That was in the early 80s, mid 80s. Okay. And how long did he wait? 30 years? That's a very long plan. So now these guys are starting to think about, well, we can't take over this country as the military. They will never, ever violate their oaths to the Constitution. So they need a lawful civil authority per the Constitution that is technically in charge while the military does everything they know they're going to need to do. It's going to be civil, martial law, similar to the COVID lockdown. Strangely enough, that was practiced. And so it'll be a week, 2 weeks, three. We don't know how long it'll take them to pretty much round up everybody that's ever committed any crimes and are in this crime syndicate. I call it the corporate crime syndicate. That's really what's pretending to be our government. We haven't had an actual government since at least 1871. So they're pretending. They pretend to take oaths. They pretend to sign paperwork. They actually have like a separate constitution where they changed uppercase to lowercase letters and then put an all caps title on it, which is a corporate, kind of like corporate bylaws. And there's no requirement for anyone to follow that in a corporation. They do the best they can. It's like guidelines. They don't need to do anything. So they're thinking, well, we need to have this lawful civil authority. What if we tried to restore the republic? So about 2005-06 timeframe, they are watching many of the patriot groups that are up and coming and being quite active and doing some good stuff. One of those was called the Restore America Plan. And they had a Constitution radio classes on how to lawfully avoid taxes because taxes are completely voluntary for living men and women. The birth certificate fraud, which you've probably talked about before. And so they approached a couple of these patriot groups, including the Restore America Plan, RAP. And they said, you know, here's who we are, told just pretty much the story I just told you is what I was told they said. So I'm just repeating it.
Yep.
And they said, can you restore the republic? He says, well, we'll darn well try. And so that was November of 2008, just after Obama was elected. I think we all know he wasn't, because all elections are fixed. We don't have elections, we have selections, and we already know that. Because we have these people who just come out of nowhere and they're supposedly super popular, you know, politicians and stuff.
Yeah. Well, not only that, you know, when we see at this point they have given up the powers that be have given up any pretense of pretending that they're not, when Joe Biden was judged unfit and they simply popped Kamala Harris in.
Sure.
Not one vote cast for her. No one said, hey, wait a minute, I didn't vote for her. Just
do you follow Derek
she's
Johnson
our
at
girl.
all?
Do I follow
do you follow Derek Johnson?
Yes.
So he's got it pretty much figured out about the white hats were running Biden. That was all for show, while Trump and the white hats were running the continuity of government behind the scenes. And they made Biden, I think we all know that's not the same guy. He looks like a mafioso back from, you know, like 2014, 15, when he was so-called vice president.
Mm-hmm.
The guy just looks like a bad dude. And then we get this like younger brother looking stand-in. And they say, this is Biden. I'm like, no. And that's not a conspiracy.
Yeah, we've all seen the pictures. If you can look at the pictures of Joe Biden that were taken years ago with Joe Biden in the White House, you'd have to be brain dead not to realize it's not the same guy. You know, they do this stuff all the time, folks. If you're not attuned to this, you know, these are people. These are ruthless, cunning, well-financed people. You know, they're
killers
to do anything. There's nothing, literally nothing they will not do to maintain their power, their control, to subjugate us. They are ruthless. And yes, they do. They plan way ahead and make sure every single person that starts to become popular and gain power has a clone, a stand-in waiting in the wings.
At least
just
one.
In case something happens to that guy, because we can't lose that guy. Right. If that guy is gone, then he has no more power. So they have the other guy waiting to pop right into that role, and that's absolutely verifiable if you look at the pictures for yourself.
After some sort of medical issue, because then it explains why he looks different. Yep. So a conspiracy theorist is actually, you know, by definition, a pay attentionist. We just pay attention.
So, and
Yep.
I did a video on this very subject on conspiracy
Mhm.
theories because the entire concept is utterly absurd. The
Mm.
phrase suggests, even insists, that if you think a conspiracy might be happening, you are automatically both wrong and crazy and also stupid
Right.
simply by suggesting that
Well, you
maybe
know
the
that was.
government working against us somehow, which they
Yeah.
are always. It's the
Mhm.
only thing they do well.
And that phrase actually was created by the CIA after Kennedy was assassinated. That's
Yep.
where it comes from, because they
Yep.
had to shut down, all the actual truth that was
All
coming out, and
inquiries,
because that's a
all
conspiracy theory.
anyone that asks questions, why this, why that, what about this, what about that, you are wrong for asking.
Hmm.
Shame on you. And un-American extremist, potentially
Yep.
violent terrorist, obviously must be thrown in jail immediately.
Yep.
Yep.
So this group of patriots that was approached went through all the old records and was looking for proof that the republic was either still there or had been abolished. It was gone. So knowing where we needed to start, right, to restore the republic. And they realized in all the records that it was never abolished, it was only abandoned. So they created identical seats from the republic where it said senator for Iowa, House of
Right.
Representatives for Florida, and they just moved those seats over into the corporation and then left the actual seats abandoned, gathering dust, I guess.
Right.
And so that's what we realized back in 2009 after doing all that research. And then we knew that it had to be a grassroots effort from the counties up to the states, up to the national level. Had to go that way because we, the people, are the government. And that's what we did. We started to resettle counties because the counties had also been switched. We talked about that as corporations. And so they had to be put back on the land, is what we call it, because they got tricked into going to corporate maritime law, which is water law. And so they had to go back onto common law, land law, right? The people's law. So people assembling, that's what our Constitution says, and then drawing up documents that said, we know what you did and we don't agree to it, and we're going back to the way we were. You get enough of those counties doing that, and now they can do a state level. And they can say, okay, now we have a state assembly, and we're going to appoint a governor, a secretary of state, justices, House, Senate, that kind of thing. And enough of those states, it was like a massive effort. There were millions of people that were following the RAP and all their videos and radio shows and all of that. And so they just lit a fire and everything started to fall into place. God's hand was all over this. I'm telling you, there's so many stories about that kind of thing. And so by November of 2010, only 2 years later, after the White Hats had approached, we had enough states resettled to have a quorum. And they met in Ephraim, Utah. It was just supposed to be a Utah meeting, and it ended up being a nationwide meeting. And everyone and their friends and family or whatever were trying to get to this meeting. They were absolutely compelled. Something in their soul was telling them they had to go. Carpools, people diverting. I mean, the news coming at just this minute that this person needed to be picked up and this car was on the way through that town, and they picked him up into, I was like, this kind of stuff, okay? And they ended up having a 36 or 37 states at this kind of a continental Congress. And they signed what they call the Declaration of Sovereign Intent, like a new Declaration of Independence. And they put the Republic back on the map and said, we the people hereby reestablish this republic with these documents, unanimously signed. When have you ever heard of a unanimous vote? I mean, somebody's always
Never.
dissenting, right?
Never. There's always one person. 4 out of 5
Something.
dentists recommend sugarless gum for their patients who chew gum. But
That's
the
right.
fifth guy Nah, he says, sugar, baby, bring it.
Yep. Sugar's better. Yeah.
There
Better for
there
my
you go.
business.
There you
Hmm.
go. Wow. So this is amazing and powerful, and I think that speaks to, when I started the Angry Citizen, which to me I thought this should be a home run. Like, who is happy with our government? Who thinks paying taxes is good? Who thinks the IRS is a kind, benevolent organization?
Hmm.
Who's pleased with the people that have given themselves raises and benefits for life and made themselves immune to the very laws they pass for the rest of us peasants? They somehow all get wealthy on stock
That's right.
trading while they're in office, and we the people tolerate this, and then they vote them back into office. And I think, really? Would
We
you?
don't. That's the whole point.
Well,
Like I
there is
said,
that.
everything's fixed.
There is that.
So, because there's no way
So,
that someone like Nancy Pelosi would ever get reelected. I'm sorry.
oof. Well, to be fair, Sandy, I hate to say it, but I have met people that think she's wonderful.
Oh, I
I've
know.
met
I know.
people that think every person in there who's a scum sucking sack of dung. I've met someone who thinks they are just wonderful, and
Right.
I it baffles
Hmm.
my mind. But anyway, moving along.
Right. So,
So where do we stand
right. So
now?
all the people out there that are praying and praying, God, tell me what to do. How do I save this country? It seems so overwhelming. And I say, we already did it. We did all the hard work, and all you have to do is join. We just need to refill the seats of these states. Now, here's the sad part. We've actually done it 3 times now. And every time we're just about to have all the states completely filled and ready to go, the corporate crime syndicate 3-letter agencies infiltrate and try to take us down.
Of course.
And they'll throw out some story, lies, whatever,
Right. Right.
and trick people into following this other group. Or, in the case of the very first infiltration in 2012, when we had all 50 states resettled and filling all those positions, and starting to have grand juries. That was the thing that got their attention, because we wanted to, well, we were having grand juries on Obama, Biden, Hillary, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Actual we the people grand juries according to the Constitution. They couldn't have that. So they sent in their 3 letters and tricked the people, arrested a bunch of them, including our acting president. That was James Timothy Turner. So as soon as that happened, and a couple of other random arrests, that was enough for most of the people to run and hide. I can't blame them too much, because a lot of them have families and stuff. It's like, but a remnant remained and held the republic together. The shadow banning, though, was insane. And so I'm sure we've got people listening to this right now. Why don't I know anything about this? Well, because when you have the entire 3-letter agency system working against you to shut you up,
Yep.
You're not going to hear anything. YouTube channels deleted, and, websites attacked, and, whatever else. We couldn't get our message out.
Yeah, they have a lot of power.
Until May of last year. Something happened. The timing was critical. It was just after the Trump trial and verdict. And suddenly our message started to get out. And then it snowballed from there. And they couldn't put the genie back in the bottle. So once that had happened, here comes infiltration number 3. And exactly the same plan, try to take over the Senate, happened in January of this year. Now, the good news is the people that we had in those positions, most of them had, of course, we've got the books. We mentioned that in the last year's August podcast. And that's the Re-Inhabited books, volumes 1 and 2. And we made it required reading because we didn't have that in the first 2 infiltrations. So we needed the people to get spun up as fast as possible. How did the Republic get re-inhabited, and How did they try to take us down? So you can recognize it in the future. That was the reason why they didn't do as much damage as they had done in the previous 2 infiltrations. So, yes, we have some states that don't have any representation, but the people are coming back. And of course, my prayer continues to be, please God, please be our vetting committee. Don't let all the bad people come back. Let only the good people come in. So we'll hope that that stands true. But we still have a few infiltrators that we're needing to remove as they show their true colors. And that's the other part of my prayer. Please make the evil people do stupid stuff so we can recognize them and remove them. Amen. And they fulfill that every day. So they'll say something really dumb, in the chats or in an email or something. And it's just like, oh, is that how you really feel? Interesting. And we have to wait for them to actually violate their oath or break the law or something along those lines and recognize and remove. So, but yeah.
Well said.
And that's all. That's it. That is what we've done. And that's what we represent. Republic for the United States of America. We have a website. Is that a good time to give?
Absolutely. I was just going to ask you that. Go ahead.
We have a shortcut. We have a very long website name. So sorry.
Right.
But the shortcut is republicforusa.org. And that's all spelled out. Republic, FORUSA.org. And that will redirect to our members website. And it says there, log in, register, look at our documents, whatever.
Good.
We did a second document called the Proclamation of Claim and Interest. So the first one was essentially in one sentence, we're back. The Republic is back. We've reseated it according to law, according to we the people and the Constitution and whatever. And the second document was, now we're going to reclaim everything that's been stolen from the American people, all the land, all the water, all the resources, all the minerals, the animals, the plants, the air, from the center of the earth out to the infinite universe. We claim for the American people for when they want it back. That and that declaration from November of 2010 were filed in the international systems as required by international law. And we are the actual government, this republic, for the United States. Because we did all that.
Fantastic. Well, I love this plan. This is literally what I've wanted to see happen since when I became sort of vaguely politically aware early in life as a child. And I remember having discussions with people where they would say ridiculous things to me, and they would always be like, well, you don't understand. You're just a child. You don't understand. You'll understand someday. I'm thinking, no, I know I'm just a child, but you're just telling me 2 and 2 equals 8, and that's not true. So, you're voting for these people and you're like, oh, well, it's complicated. There's a lot to it. And I'm like, no, it's not complicated at all. A person says, I'm going to do this job and I'm going to do it well, and I'll abide by my oath. Yep. They either do or they don't.
You can start by reading that document right behind you.
Yes. It says right here. Like when I was young, and my mother was very liberal. Okay. So, and I'm not condemning that. Some liberal views are good. And she taught me to be very, understanding of other people and compassionate and all that good stuff. But she was like super hyper anti-gun. Like guns are bad, evil, terrible, too many guns in the world. So I grew up more or less in that environment.
Right.
And then someone who was a friend of mine and his father were firearms enthusiasts, and I began speaking with my friend about it. His father took me out and showed me how to shoot. And we shot a pistol together. And he told me about the Second Amendment, and he knew the Second Amendment. He could if you ask most people, they can't. Even people that are Second Amendment proponents cannot actually quote it verbatim. Okay, he could and did. And when he quoted it, I sat there baffled, Sandy. I said, "This literally says any schmuck can go get a gun,
anytime, for any reason."
It terrified me. I was like, what madman wrote this? What idiot could think this was a good idea? Have you met these people? Right? So I said that to my friend's father. I said, well, that's scary. Like you just any schmuck. He said, well, okay, so how do you stop these people? Let's say you don't want these people that are bad people to get guns.
Mhm.
What do you do? Well, that's obviously insurmountable. They're going
No,
to
you
get
arm
guns.
everybody,
The bad people are going to get guns. You can't stop them. You can't.
right? So
They
you
don't
arm the
care
good
about the law.
people. Hmm.
The only people that care about this law are people that are law abiding. And you have a right to defend yourself. You have a right to defend your home. And I realized he was right. And it was a big moment for me, Sandy, because my mother was wrong. It was one of the few times in my life when I really had to confront this reality that my mother
Right.
was wrong and I wasn't ready to hear it. I was prepared to believe, how it is with your mother,
Mhm.
everything. Guns are bad, evil things. People shouldn't be allowed to have guns. There needs to be some really heavy restrictions, processes, requirements, licensing, training, and blah, blah, blah. And I realized founding fathers knew what they were talking about. And then I look around and I see all these laws, thousands and thousands and thousands of so-called gun laws on the books. And I
Violating the
say,
Constitution.
why are we tolerating this? It says right there that my right to keep and bear arms shall not be
That's
infringed.
right. That's right.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It's
That's
a
right.
beautiful thing. And yet we ignore it. The First Amendment says I can peaceably assemble. Peaceably assemble. I cannot block traffic. I don't get to throw rocks. I don't get to light fires. But what I do get to do is go and stand on the corner with my sign
Hmm.
and say, I'm not happy with my governor. Janet Mills is a criminal here. She's a criminal. We all know it. Okay? She needs to be in jail. I have every right to say it. And yet, police show up. They put up barricades. They start hurting people. You're not allowed to be here. What? You need a permit. I saw recently watching a TV show and they were talking about the chief of police and the mayor were talking to the mayor, one of the police chief, to remove the people that were protesting against him because he didn't want to hear that. And he said, well, chief, if I recall, that requires a permit. And you know me, right? I'm going, no, it does not require a permit. You want my permit? That's the permit right there. I have a right to be here. So
That's
we
right.
need to own this America. We need to own it. It's going to take all of us, you know?
That's
We need
right.
to wake up, pay attention,
Yeah.
research, find information, learn your history, learn your rights, read the Constitution. There's a challenge. Read it, okay? And there
Right.
may be parts of it that you struggle to understand. I get that. Some of the language is a little, you know, like,
There's a
but
suggestion for that.
okay.
There's a couple of okay. Your microphone's going real scratchy again, like we talked about before, but I don't know what's
Oh,
going
isn't
on.
that
But
weird? Try that.
it could be. So there's several online courses called like Constitution 101 or Constitution 201 even. They go into more depth. And I highly recommend anyone listening to this, if you haven't actually read the Constitution in a maybe ever, because some of our schools don't even teach it anymore.
None
Or
of
they
them do.
teach the really radical, completely unlawful thing that it's up for debate and it's
Right,
old and antiquated and needs to be renovated. I'm like,
right.
have you actually read it? Because you haven't, because it's pretty darn close to what we need to be doing. So that's what this republic stands for. And a lot of people ask us, well, what happens if the republic is restored? Well, here's the brilliant thing. We bring the whole enchilada, all the laws, the Constitution, everything back to December 19th of 1860. Okay, that was right before the Civil War,
Yep.
right? As we were talking about, that was the beginning of the end for this republic. It's also the day before the first state left the Union, right? Because you can't secede. It's a perpetual union. Once you've signed on, you've signed on. And so that's, of course, of debate with a lot of people and historians, but
Right.
it says perpetual union, guys. Perpetual means always. You can't leave. So the day before, South Carolina was the first state on December 20th, 1860. So we revert to December 19th of 1860. And that's where we start, not where we
So,
stay. That's
so
where we
all the
start.
laws, all the laws that have been passed that are unconstitutional laws are gone. Poof.
In
Just like
that second. That's right.
That's where I would love to
So
be. Yep.
no Federal Reserve, no IRS, no CIA, no FBI, no Department of Education, no FAA. Okay, we got to talk about that one because I don't want airplanes crashing, and getting people killed, right? Well, we'll talk about that one. But everything else, what is it? 3 million people running the federal government. I'm like, I'm sorry. If you look at James Buchanan's staff, which was the president right before Lincoln, which would have been December of 1860, he had like 13 or 14 staff, like departments, advisors. So they had like, a typist, a secretary, that was maybe a couple other folks because there was like a department of the Navy and I forget what the other one was in the military, Department of War. Oh, Trump just changed it back. You think he might know what the plan is? Yes. We've given him our plan. We've told him what the Republic's plan is, and he's already doing it from the inside.
I hope that's
when he
true.
said that, we went, yes.
I would love to see it.
Yeah. So we
I
are.
put the website in the comments. It's republic4usa.org. So you should be able to click on it. If you can't, type it in, do the work.
Yeah.
Sandy, you were saying?
I was just going to say that our mission is to be that lawful civil authority when the white hat military takes over and cleans all this stuff up, arrests everybody that hasn't already been arrested. And it's military tribunals, not courts. So it's the Universal Code of Military Justice, UCMJ, that's actually in charge. And these courts are finished in a day. And if they're guilty of treason or some other executable crime, out back is the guillotine or the firing squad. There's no waiting on death row. This is going to happen really fast. And that's the kind of justice we've all been waiting for. But basically, our job is to have that first election, the first Republic election. We are interim temporary only. I'm the Secretary of State for the Republic. I will happily give up this job to whomever the new president who's elected appoints to this position. Happily, as we all will. Yep. We've got folks that have been doing this since 2008 or earlier if they were in the RAP. They're tired.
Yeah,
and
that's hard work.
We're just not going to give up because we did all this work. We especially need the younger people. Where are all of our 30-somethings, 20-somethings? Now, they're all probably working 2 jobs because they're trying to pay income taxes and property taxes and all the other illegal things that will go away as soon as this republic is restored that fast. Because all we have is sales tax and import-export tax. That's it. All this other stuff, driver's licenses, and okay, now there's something we got to talk about, right? We don't want 5-year-olds on the road. But you get the basic idea.
Absolutely.
And so once that first election, no machines, paper ballots only.
Yes.
And it goes through the system, right? So the state assemblies validate their elections and they do their recounts of whatever needs to happen in that first week or whatever. And then it goes to the Congress, your typical January 6th kind of, the real January 6th, not this fake thing that the FBI did to everybody. And they ratify or validate or whatever the election. And the transfer of authority occurs and we get new public servants with actual oaths to the real Constitution, the parchment paper in the archive. And it's the December 19th of 1860 version, which had the original 13th Amendment up to and only stopping there. Not the one that frees the slaves, People are going to be worried about that. I was like, no, no, no. In
Right.
our documents, it says, Declaration of Proclamation says, all men are created equal. All means all. There's no
Yeah.
slavery.
Yeah. There can't be with that
No.
tenant
And
in place.
so once that happens, every single one of us hands off what we've been doing to the newly elected, for the first time, Republic election since 1860. And then the real work begins, because we have to rebuild this country. There are going to have to be constitutional conventions and, convention of states and whatever. There's holes in the Constitution. Term limits. Hello. Everyone's going to get them.
That's a whole different discussion, Sandy. I really despise the idea of term limits, because we have term limits. They're called elections, and God forbid we get someone in there that actually knows what they're doing. They're only allowed to serve 2 terms. I don't care if they want to serve for life. If they're
In
doing
that
a bang
position,
up job,
Dana,
sure,
only in that position. So if they're like, they do 2 terms in the House and they're
all right,
super good people, go do
sure.
2 terms in the Senate.
Yeah,
They're
but
super
why?
good
That's what I'm
people.
saying. I don't care if they're doing a great job in the House. Let them stay as long as they're doing their job. The problem is they don't do the job. They don't do the job. It's like hiring a plumber that gets leaks going in your basement, and then you're like, hey, let's call that guy back. He's doing it. He charged us $5,000. Our basement is knee deep in water. Let's bring him back. No, if the plumber shows up and does his job and is really good, that's the guy I'm calling for the
That's
job.
right.
But that again, that's a separate discussion. And if it happens, it's not the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
I personally not a fan
Well,
of the
these
concept. So
debates, that's what happens after the election.
yeah.
We have no authority as these interim appointed people to do any changes to the Constitution or anything like that. All that we've done is in our first Congress is we brought the country back to December 19th of 1860. And then we will work it from there. One law at a time, one act of Congress at a time. That's unlawful. Don't even bother. Or that we can change it and make it lawful. And then let's put it before the Congress. We're going to be busy bees until we get
Well,
all that straightened out. That's going to take decades,
I'm
generations.
confident that with the participation and awareness of the majority, the hopefully
Mhm.
overwhelming majority of the American people, we will see this going in the right direction. I can't see it because the only reason that we're in so much trouble is because, as you articulated at the very beginning of our stream, that they've
Mhm.
divided us. It's black
Yep.
against white, it's Christians against Muslims, it's gay
Mhm.
people against straight people, it's
Mhm.
whatever they can, men
Right.
against women, old against young, anything they can dream up to get us to fight
Mhm.
among ourselves, they're going
That's
to
right.
do it. The Republicrat Democrat paradigm is the most
Right.
destructive paradigm that has ever
Mhm.
been inflicted on we the people, and we have to stop. We have to, instead of asking what's your label, what's your race, what's your class, you ask,
Mhm.
are you saying a thing I agree with?
Right. Are you
That's
speaking truth?
where we start. Yes, thank you. So if what you're
Yeah.
saying is true, I'm behind you. I might dislike you personally. Believe me, there are some people
To
that I've been
separate.
very supportive of that I don't like at all.
Right.
But when they say, let's do this thing, I say, I agree with that guy or that
Right.
woman. We should do that thing.
Right.
That's what we have to do. We have to all declare
Mhm.
ourselves constitutional Americans.
Yeah.
Everything else takes a back seat. Everything else.
Yeah.
So,
And
well,
everybody is the government. Everybody is the government.
yep.
We
We
go
the people,
back to the way we used to do it, where there used to
government
be
by the
at least
people,
monthly by the people meeting,
for the people.
assembling, county assemblies, working out the problems. If it's a problem between 2 counties, you get the state involved, but it's rare. And if it's a problem between 2 states, you get the national involved. It's even more rare. And
Indeed.
it's hardly anybody there because you're not needed very often. Yeah, we got
There
to
you
have
go.
diplomats and stuff like that, but
Bottom
that's
up
it.
government. Bottom up
Yeah.
government. So,
Yeah.
well, we have, I think, covered that very nicely. Mostly you. I like to say we, so I take a minor bit of credit. That was beautiful, and thank you for taking the time to come here and do this important stream with me. Appreciate it very much, and appreciate all the hard work that you're doing and all the people in your movement are doing. Folks, check out the website, republic4usa.org. Feel free to comment in the comments as long as you're polite. I don't have to delete your comment. Sandy, thank you so much for joining me. Any parting words you want to offer America?
No, it's just that everybody, you've got to get involved. If it seems overwhelming, comprehend that I just told you that 90 to 95% of it's already done. We're just waiting for the White Hats to say, it's time. And Trump will be making an announcement, probably that time frame, and everyone will know instantly what I just told you is still the plan. And so
Good.
don't wait. Prepare
Hopefully,
yourself. Go take your
we'll get a
Constitution
chance to
class.
follow up at some point in the future, and
That's
we'll
right.
be able to we'll look back on this and say, there you go.
Remember? Remember that?
Remember that? All right. Well, Sandy, thanks again for joining me. I appreciate it. And
Yes, sir.
to
Thank you for having me.
America, my pleasure always. And to America, I say, please get involved at any level. You have to vote, you have to know your rights, you have to do your research, teach your children their rights, teach them about the Constitution because the schools are not. And we, the people, can still restore our beloved republic if we make the effort to do it. So I say to you all, God bless you. Thank you for watching. I'm Dana, the Angry Citizen, and signing off for now. See you all again soon. All right. Well, Sandy,